All right, we are back in business, and today is the official start to week 4 of our masterclass. So I'm super excited about it because there's so much to cover. And today we're going to be talking about all things money, and we're just going to get right into it. So we're going to be talking about how to upgrade your fundraising strategy, a step-by-step guide to enhance your fundraising plan. So when I think about fundraising and why I left this one for the fourth week as opposed to the first week is because it takes volunteers to help further your fundraising plan. It takes content and community engagement to bolster your fundraising plan. And when you're able to do that, multiple things happen in terms of getting in front of the media, positioning yourself as an expert in the field because you're making such an impact, because the money that's coming in ultimately is creating a huge impact for your organization. So fundraising to me requires a mix of strategy, connections, and appeal. And what appeal means is how you ask your donors. So I made a reel the other day and I joked about, you don't just go up to random people and say, give me your money, as if that's how you do it, when in reality it's not. The reason why people get big donations, the reason why they continue getting ongoing support from particular donors, whether it's private or business, is because the connection has been made and the business is familiar with your nonprofit or the individual is familiar with your organization. So all of those are super key in getting more donors, making those connections. It's as complex as it sounds. You really need to get out there and make those connections. And we can totally get into how you do that online in just a second. So fundraising requires a mix of strategy, connections, and appeal. And again, appeal is how you ask. So first things first is creating a nonprofit fundraising strategy. A nonprofit strategy requires several components, key players, and accountability to ensure its success. So just like I said a second ago, sure, you can start fundraising right now. Sure, you can ask people for money and you're going to make an impact. You're going to get people to say yes. And of course, you'll hear people that say no, or they just don't give you a response. However, if you're just one person fundraising an amount of money, can you imagine what that would look like if you had your board, let's just say 5 members, let's just say you have 5 volunteers. Now you have 10 other people other than you out there fundraising. And if, of course, all of them have a birthday, that way they can create their own fundraiser online with their birthday. And you have now 11 different fundraisers that could potentially raise $1,100, considering it's $100. But if you have overachievers, people who are really going to push the envelope, people who aren't afraid of asking for donations, you're going to get more results. So the components include, and this is a really straight up, not, anything sugar coated. This is literally how I created a fundraising strategy for the nonprofit. So if I wanted to create a budget, which, it had $300,000 that we needed to raise. So yes, I might put that in the strategic plan. Yes, I will put that in the budget alongside what it takes or how much everything would cost, which would result in $300,000. That was actually the budget before I transitioned out of the nonprofit, how much we had set. And so that was all the programs, all the staff salary, that was the marketing budget, that was multimedia budget, that was insurances. Those were all the things in between. And if you don't have a budget, you absolutely need to create one. I can send you a template just to kind of give you an idea of what you can put in your budget in case you don't have one. But it's super important to do that. That way you understand where your money needs to go, how you need to raise that money, what things can you cut costs on in the event that you don't have the funds to do that. Also, you can kind of pinpoint, okay, these are things that we have to cover. And for me, and a lot of nonprofit leaders say this to me all the time, well, how did you get paid? Not to get off track completely, but just to really plant the seed in case your organization is in that same boat. is I remember starting the nonprofit 2011, 2012, we became a nonprofit. 2013 was our first year that we provided services. 2014 was the first year that I got paid. So that year I was like, look, your girl's running out of savings and I need to survive. So if you want me to continue doing this work, I need to get paid. That first year in 2014, I was making, I think, $35,000. And now keep in mind, this is not maybe how everyone would do it, but this is how we did it. We didn't have $35,000 in the bank, number one. Number two, we didn't even have half of that. So we had a couple months worth of that salary, but I said, look, if you approve this salary for me, I will make sure there is money in the bank and I will make sure bills are paid. Now, it was a struggle at first, I'm not going to lie, but look, if this is one of those situations where, hey, I need this money to make things happen in my life in order for me to continue pouring into the nonprofit, I need this to happen. So just a quick planting of the seed and a little bit of watering. If you are in that boat and you are looking to get paid, one, all it takes is for your CPA or the person that does your budgeting to put in a payroll company, put that in place for you to literally get a paycheck. I'm not talking 1099, I'm not talking contractor work, I'm talking a salary that you would get from your nonprofit. So one is that you need to have the logistics in place. Two, create a plan, showcase it to your board of directors. And if the board is watching right now, then this is, I will tell any board this. If a founder is looking to get paid and they are the face of the nonprofit, they are doing everything under the sun for the nonprofit, they deserve to get paid. I'm sorry, but the volunteering, even with volunteers, it only takes them so far. So two, creating a proposal for the board saying, hey, this is how much money that I'm looking to get, and this is how I'm going to fundraise for it. Now, you are taking on the responsibility of making sure those dollars are in the bank alongside the board. When a board approves a budget, they are fiscally responsible for making sure those dollars are in. Now, with that being said, your board isn't going to raise $300,000. I mean, some boards will. Some boards have that kind of money in their own personal network, but it's definitely important to get them to buy in, and I can talk about that in the Q&A section later on in our conversation today. However, basically proposing that to them, saying, hey, this is how I'm going to do it, and you go in and you do it. You prove them right, and you give them the opportunity to pay you, and you go in and you fundraise your butt off to make sure that those bills are paid. Because at the end of the day, as the founder and as a CEO or executive director, you are responsible for fundraising. There is no way if and or buts in that process. Perfect case scenario, it's cool to have other people do it. But at the end of the day, people are investing into you and your cause, especially as the founder. So that was probably one of the most stressful things, being the executive director. But through this presentation right here, I'm going to give you so many steps on how to make fundraising easier for you so you can go in and get those dollars. So that's a little side note. Okay, back to the plan at hand. Back to our page. Social media and marketing strategy. So good thing we already talked about this. We went over this and we talked about social media and marketing strategies in a couple weeks. I believe it was last week's session. So a social media strategy is basically what campaigns are happening during the year. Campaigns meaning, are there fundraising initiatives? Are there events that are happening? Are there programs that are happening? What are things that we have to fundraise for throughout the year? That way you can tie in the events that you're doing, the programs that you're doing into your fundraising efforts. That way they're not like solo type things. Basically, if you have a retreat coming up in March, I hope to see you fundraising in January and February to make that event happen in March, if not sooner than that, of course. One of the things as well, which I'm going to talk about later in this, is a timeline for events. You don't want to just host an event because you feel like you need to host an event tomorrow, because you're going to get not good results if you don't plan ahead. I'm a super planner, so I'll give you the sauce on that as well. So social media plan is basically getting that information together, getting all of those pieces that I just mentioned together so everything works cohesively. 3, a calendar of events, which I just mentioned, which includes programs, fundraising events, and special events. Marketing assets, which we also did together, which is, the flyers, the event pages on Facebook, the graphics that you're going to create to promote your event. Everything marketing is marketing assets. And the last thing, fundraising platform. So Facebook would, in my mind, would be a free, but technically it's not free. Every place charges a service fee or a convenience fee or whatever kind of fee that they're charging to have your donations get processed through their platform. So with that being said, a fundraising platform that I always talk about, that I swear by. So in 2014, that's when I got paid. 2015 is when we started looking into digital fundraising platforms. And MobileCause is my best friend. I swear by them. They were an incredible platform to use. I have tried several others, and by far, they were the one that took the cake for me. You're able to host digital fundraising events on there. You're able to text to donate. You're able to accept donations on your website. You're able to use it for events, any kind, anywhere, and basically have a platform for people of all walks of life to fundraise for your nonprofit. And so, in a nutshell, these are the 5 components that I would say every nonprofit needs when creating a fundraising strategy. I see it time and time again that a lot of organizations are setting a goal number without creating a plan around it. Now, if you want to raise $1 million or even $100,000, I need to see how you are going to do it in order to tell you if you can do it or not. Not saying that you don't have the drive or the passion or any of those things to match that, but the best way for a nonprofit to really see those results is by creating streams of income. And so if you don't have streams of income, we gonna talk about that today, all things money. So strategy requires more than words. It requires an attainable plan and actionable steps. Like I said, it's not just, we want to raise $1 million. I need to know how you're going to raise $1 million to make that happen. Because you will have spontaneous donations. You will have people that give because, they heard about your cause or they were scrolling through social media and they saw it or were super inspired. But in order for you to get those big donations, there needs to be a strategy and a plan on how you are going to make that happen. So with that being said, I want to see SMART goals. And SMART goals are, and this is one of the best strategies to help any nonprofit raise money, is by identifying annual streams of revenue. And so one example of that could be, let's just say your nonprofit has an annual charity event. And that is one stream of income because that's one place people are donating to your cause. Maybe a second one is you're an author and you sell books and 100% of the profit is going back to the nonprofit. That's a second stream of revenue. And so imagine looking at a list of 30 streams of revenue, which interestingly enough, of those 30 streams that I've created, they actually branch out into probably 30, 60, or 90 more different ideas on how you can raise more money. And each of the ones that I have on my streams of revenue list are things that are going to raise you a good amount of money, most of which are going to raise you more than just, hey, can I have a $20 donation here or there? Because I'm looking for a big impact. You're not going to see a wine and paint event on my list just because it takes a lot longer to get people into those doors. And it also isn't a big return on investment. So I'm all about return on investment because that's, you're paying the person to work your event. Let's just say you are a salaried employee and the nonprofit is paying you for 10 hours a week to do fundraising events, but now you're spending it on one event that ultimately isn't going to give you as much impact or as much results or as much return on investment than, let's just say, working with Kohl's or working with a company that pays their employees to volunteer with your nonprofit. So this concept is easier to digest than setting one large amount and working towards it. So just to explain this one a little bit more, a lot of nonprofits, when they set their strategic plan or their annual plan each year, they say, ooh, I want to raise $100,000. And they have no way on how they're going to make that happen. They don't have any streams of revenue. They don't have a big donor base. They don't have a big social media presence. So all of those things take into account on how you can raise money. Unless you're going to be strictly grant-based, I honestly, even if you were strictly grant based, you're going to have to apply for a lot of grants with the probability of getting a grant. So I'm gonna jump right into it. We've been talking about this forever and a day. Screenshot this. I will also send you the download of this. But I'm gonna go through each of these one by one, and you're more than welcome to shoot me some questions. I'd be happy to answer them, but I'm going to go over these, and then I'm going to go over the buckets, which are A through F. There are more on the next page, on what these buckets are, as well as what these are, to kind of give you an idea, and so many more ideas on literally how you can raise money right now. So the first one is grants. As we all know it, I'm not a huge fan of them. I'm not gonna lie, I've applied for grants in the past. We've won some, we didn't win some. And my feelings about grants is this, and I say this story all the time. If organizations, so I live in a town of 1,500 nonprofits, and if 1,500 nonprofits are applying for one single grant that maybe the local foundation is giving away, what happens to 1,499 nonprofits that don't get that funding? They have to go back to the drawing board and apply for more grants elsewhere. Now, the likelihood of them winning all the grants that they apply for is very slim. Now, some big nonprofits, some big foundations offer grants for nonprofits of all different sizes. For the most part, a lot of federal and government grants require particular requirements in order for you to win their grant. Most times, any one of these grants requires you to use the money in a specific way during a specific time period for a specific demographic of people. Most times, if not all, that is the case. And so organizations like domestic violence shelters or transitional homes, like those types of programs, typically rely on federal grants along with several other of these components as well. However, they have very, very, very tight requirements to make sure their grant doesn't get revoked. They have to make sure they meet specific requirements, and also make sure they send in particular deliverables to make that happen. And so for a small organization that's starting off, for one that maybe doesn't have the financials of several years and beyond to show, maybe they don't have an audit to show, maybe they don't have a big team or an office to show, and so many organizations are scrambling to find an office space in order for them to receive grant funding. But one of the things that they don't realize is, one, grants are competitive and grants are super scarce. And so if organizations are 100% relying on grants or relying primarily on grants, that's going to be really tricky and really stressful for a small organization that doesn't have the capacity or the manpower to make grants possible every single month. So also, just food for thought, grant writers typically charge a fee up front. From what I understand from professional grant writers, when they took their training, they actually signed an agreement that they would not take a percentage of the grant that they win. Therefore, which I also think is not fair, because if someone were to write 10 grants and they didn't win any of those, that means they get $0. So the person writing the grants on the back end wouldn't get paid for writing all the grants for your nonprofit. So I'm just going to put this out there because I know a lot of grant writers. Please stop asking grant writers to write for free with a percentage, just because it's not fair to them. And grant writing is their livelihood, just like running a nonprofit is yours. So that's grants. So there are federal, which are government, state, which could be like state foundations, maybe the Colorado Nonprofit Association, maybe, the Florida Coalition. There are several different statewide grants that are out there. You just have to Google them. There are grant databases that you can buy as well. And there are local organizations, there are groups, there are community groups, there are different types of community activists who put their money together and give away a select amount each year. And so those are local grants. Local grants are typically a lot easier to get. However, just like every other grant, if they have $1,000 to give and 1,000 nonprofits apply for it, what happens to the 999 that applied and don't get the grant? So we want to make sure that you have multiple streams of revenue, which we're going to keep going through, to make sure that you're not relying on one of these outlets. We want to rely on multiple, so we can always make sure that there are several different ways that money are coming into the nonprofit. So the next one, corporate. So I talked about Double the Donation. It is a subscription website that allows you to type in different companies out there that pay their employees to volunteer. That's number one. And also they match funds. So what I mean by that is, let's just say I work for Verizon. And I donate $1,000. I don't know what Verizon's exact cap is for their annual giving, but let's just say Verizon matches up to $1,000. I am a Verizon employee. You find out I'm a Verizon employee, and or you find out what companies offer different matching grant opportunities, because believe it or not, a lot of people don't know that their companies have a philanthropy arm to them. So this is going to require research. However, the likelihood of you getting $1,000 times 10 because you did the research and you have 10 people in your network that work for Verizon and who also donate, you have a higher likelihood to get money that way versus a $10,000 grant that you have to apply for with the probability of possibly getting it, even though you submitted a grant application. So matching funds could look like companies or corporations paying for their employees to volunteer with your nonprofit, which is also volunteer equals donation. And there are a lot of companies who will match up to thousands of dollars sometimes, depends on the organization that you're looking for, and they will match your donors' dollars. So if you work for Verizon and you know they have a matching grant fund, tap into that, make sure your people apply for it, make sure you're doing your research, ask your board what they do for a living, ask your volunteers what they do for a living, and ask them if their company has a philanthropy arm. Having those conversations is huge. Also, quick tip, this is not something that you're just going to write on social media saying, hey, who works for Verizon? We want to make sure that each one of these steps is cultivated, and making sure that, hey, we want to know you, we want to build a relationship with you. Because think about it, if someone's coming and knocking on your door for a big amount of money, are you just going to give it to them because they knocked on your door? Or are you going to say, hey, can I get to know you first, or what? So there are strategies on how you can make these things possible. The next one, of course, is sponsorships. You have a big event coming up and you want AT&T to be the corporate sponsor of that, because maybe you're doing a phone drive and you know that AT&T does phone drives, and you know that they donate to human trafficking survivors and or domestic violence victims. So we want to make sure that each one of these sponsorships is in alignment with the company's values as well. So an example of that would be, let's just say, I'm going to use AT&T because my mom actually works there. So AT&T's philanthropy arm actually is pretty huge. They have a volunteer company within a company it's called AT&T Pioneers, where their employees volunteer in the community. Their company also has different grants because of employees that want to nominate a nonprofit. They do a lot of different things philanthropy wise. So let's just say I'm reaching out to AT&T because I know that their philanthropy is in alignment with what my philanthropy is, and I asked them for a donation, and voila, we put in a request. So a sponsorship is also very much like a grant, but it's a different type of process. And a sponsorship is more on the lines of you give them something in return. Most times it's, marketing exposure. Sometimes it's speaking at your evening of hope event that you're having and doing an award show at. It could be a variety of different things for a variety of different purposes. And like I said, volunteer equals donation. So there are tons of companies out there who will pay your nonprofit for their employees to donate. So boom, corporate donations is where it's at. Digital fundraising. So I talk about this one a lot because this one for me was the most successful, especially during the pandemic. So going back to Mobile Cause, they offer a text to donate option where now you're not just going on Facebook, making a donation. Now you're not just mailing in a check. Now you're not going to the website and making a donation on PayPal, or you're not mailing, something in to get to the office. So however that's going to get there. Text to donate is literally the opportunity to get your donors to donate right on their phone. Now, it's not going to charge your phone bill. This literally, you have to put in your card, whether it's a credit card or a debit card, and you make your donation. And literally the beauty of Mobile Cause is you get those donations the next day. So Facebook typically takes about 30 days to get those donations, but text to donate in terms of Mobile Cause is the next day. Facebook donations, that is pretty self-explanatory, but Facebook now has the capability of allowing nonprofits to raise money and people to raise money on Facebook. So that could look like, a Facebook Live and you have the donate button up there, or that could be starting a birthday fundraiser, or that could be just because it's Tuesday and I want to make an impact fundraiser. That could be I moved to Colorado 3 years ago fundraiser. This could be saving the rainforest fundraiser. This could be anything under the sun. And the beauty of it is that you can create as many fundraisers as you want. I personally actually raised $10,000 on Facebook since it started back in 2019. So I was able to raise that money through social media. And imagine if you have 100 followers and each of them are raising $10,000, you are sitting on a gold mine. And the beauty of it, it's free for them. It's easy to do. If someone has 1,000 friends, they're sharing it on Facebook, they have a goal in mind, you give them a reason why they should donate to your cause. This is super turnkey because now you're giving people the opportunity to give anywhere, anytime, for any type of reason. So the goal here isn't just, hey, we have Facebook donations, you should donate. This needs to be a story. This needs to be a well thought out process to give people a reason why they should donate to your cause. Again, it's all about relationships. If you've created a community online where you are, inspiring people to share their stories about overcoming mental health concerns, here is an opportunity for those people to give back to the very organization that helped them. And so, as you can tell in my tone, it's very different than, hey, we have birthday fundraisers, donate to us. That's completely different than, hey, my name is Kristen and I overcame depression. And it was because of Mount Carmel Veterans Service Center that helped me during my deepest, darkest times. They were there for me, providing free counseling and a support group for me to make sure that my needs were met, and they were there for me every step of the way. Versus, hey, Mount Carmel now offers birthday fundraisers. You should donate to our cause. Here's how you do it. It's completely different. One is very personal. One is just, hey, very direct and impersonal. The next one, Instagram Live. I love doing these because one, it's free to do. And two, this is your opportunity to tap into what we covered actually last week on the PR piece. So the beauty of this is if you're a nonprofit, has to do with, again, because I like the cause, domestic violence, then reach out to influencers to do Instagram lives with you. Make it a fundraiser. Say, hey, Christy Mack is doing a fundraiser with us and she's going live to tell us about her story. All you have to do is click the donate button. And now people that are watching that interview that you and her would do, now you have the opportunity to tap into 3 million people because now it shows up on her page. So as you can see, digital fundraising allows you to make donations, raise money online, and reach the masses, and gives you the opportunity to reach hundreds of thousands and millions of people versus one person, whoever makes that grant decision, or that team of 3 or 4 or 5 people who make that grant decision. and they give you a grant versus creating a well-oiled machine that once you create those relationships and once your nonprofit is identified as an expert, as a community, as a trusted source, people will just give at that point. So we want to make sure that we're getting you on the wheel of being that trusted nonprofit, being that place where people know that, hey, I can trust this place. This is my safe haven online. This is where I go when I can't sleep at night because this group helps me. And so that type of support is priceless. And so when you create that online, you're giving people a reason to give. You are tapping into their heartstrings and not just their pocket. So let's just keep that in mind when we're tackling this thing called fundraising. All right, so events. Events could be a variety of different things because we are in a weird time right now. In-person events are kind of on hold. I'm super grateful though that next month I'm actually going to be hosting a event for the first time this year because COVID regulations in Colorado have since got themselves together. So in-person events though are going to be different whether we like it or not. People are still going to be kind of paranoid about being around people. Two, we want to make sure we're safe. COVID's still here and that's just the reality of it. What is the new normal going to look like? Well, we are in the new normal. So if in-person events are still on hold in your community, let's just put that on hold for a second. Community hosted. So let's remember that you are not the only person that cares about your cause. We know that there are other people out there who do care and they want to fundraise for you. They just haven't found out about you yet. So community hosted events were another great source of income that our nonprofit received. This typically looked like people that just wanted to support the cause because they just loved it. They loved what we did for them and wanted to fundraise on their own. So community hosted events could look like, a fashion show that a local sorority did in their community. And, they decided to write you a check and boom, it was a surprise. So we put this in our budget or in our streams of revenue spreadsheet where I put, $10,000 is going to come in for community hosted events. And that typically looked like building relationships with different groups of people, whether it was fraternities, sororities, youth groups, church groups, anybody, anywhere, really, just anybody who cared about the cause. We got them to care about the cause and we gave them an opportunity to give back. Just another planting of the seed. If you have not tapped into sororities and fraternities, let me tell you, that's another gold mine. Cha-ching. And I say that because they are designed not necessarily just to give back, but a huge part of what they do as a sorority and a fraternity is philanthropy work. So I know a sorority back in San Diego called A5, no, that's my sorority, A5G. But another sorority called Alpha Chi Omega. They are a national sorority. Their philanthropy is also domestic violence. They work with a national domestic violence nonprofit. But sometimes local chapters adopt other causes. And so the beauty of that is, let's just say they didn't have a philanthropy already and you are tapping into their local efforts, which a lot of times they still do. They fundraise for local domestic violence organizations. And let me tell you, I don't know how they did it. It still blows my mind. But these girls set up a breakfast pancake fundraiser where all they did was cook pancakes. And these girls in one morning raised $5,000. So here are just so many ideas that you can do. I've seen car washes, I've seen bake sales, I've seen talent shows, I've seen anything that you can possibly think of that could be a fun event where you can raise money on is a fundraiser. It doesn't have to be a big production. Honestly, I'm going to tell you, whatever talent you have, whether you're a singer, dancer, artist, author, dog lover, whatever that is, that could be an event in and of itself. I've already thought of doing events here locally to raise money for charity. Is like a doggy fashion show or a doggy something with dogs, because my dog in the past did a fundraiser for the local humane society, and they put on a costume and then they walk around and then people pay for it, and then the people that are entering their dogs are paying a registration fee. And so this is a huge opportunity to literally tap into anything That's what makes entrepreneurship so fun for me, is because you can create anything you want. And so when you have that business mindset, you can literally run in 1,000 different directions. You can do a water balloon competition, you can do a slip and slide rental, you can do a barbecue fundraiser, you can do a plate lunch fundraiser. There are so many different types of events that you can do just for the love of giving back. And then, of course, we have the major productions where you are, putting on those really expensive fancy galas, or those very expensive golf tournaments, or, a big giant conference production, whatever that looks like. Typically, those are really expensive. I get it. But the more money that you put in, the more stressful it is. But major productions are typically that. I did a series of galas.
Okay, so
Oh, no. Siri decided that she wanted to get into my mix here, and Siri needs to mind her business. Okay, so major production. So I did a series of.
didn't get that.
I can't say that word because. Oh my gosh. Excuse my technical difficulty because of my computer. Okay, so there are several different types of major productions you can do. I've done several major productions that were luau's, that were fancy balls and galas. What I've realized with those is they take a lot of time, a lot of manpower, a lot of effort, with the possibility of getting money in return. The tricky thing about major productions is, how much am I going to cost, or how much is this event going to cost? How much are the tickets going to be? And will that cover the basic cost? Can I get enough sponsorships to cover the event? Will the people that are in these seats spend the money that I need them to spend in order for this to be a well worth it production? So you just have to really determine if that's something that you want to do. I will say, I'm just going to plant another seed. All the seeds are coming today, all of them. One of the things that I do really well, that's really fun for me, that I would just encourage anyone to do, is a luau. And I love luau's. I love traveling to Hawaii. My family's from Hawaii, and luau's are way more cost effective than a fancy charity event. And so for that one, all you have to do is get food donated, make it a tasting event, which those are always great, whether it's a Southern tasting, whether it's a barbecue tasting, well, it's a chili cook-off. Again, there's tons of ideas here. A luau, all it took was hiring a dance group, getting food donated, finding a venue, and literally getting a bunch of decorations and a bunch of silent auction items. And that in itself was a really great return. And of course, the event itself wasn't that expensive. So when you're putting on major productions, make sure that, one, your costs are going to be covered, but number two, is it worth it? Are you going to get a big enough return for it to be worth your time, energy, and effort? The next one is private gifts. So it's actually supposed to say private donations, because I learned today that private gifts actually is, a gift is like an actual tangible thing versus a private donation. So scratch that, and we're going to call that private donation. So membership, this looks like people that give on a reoccurring basis. This could be $20, $10, $5. It's so easy to market that, hey, skip your coffee for the week and donate to our cause. You can do so many different things. You can have a selfie video of you, going to Starbucks, driving through the drive-through and just driving off, saying, you know what, I'd rather donate to my nonprofit. Like, funny things like that is what's going to get people attracted to your social media content, and also relatable, because people are always going to Starbucks. People are always getting their coffee in the morning. But save that money and donate to our cause, because we'll take a bit. I'm gonna get creative right here. Take a sip out of our nonprofit. Take a sip. I don't know. I'm not gonna get too far into that. So membership, Mobile Cause also hosts reoccurring giving. So I thought that was super convenient, because no other platform that I knew of did reoccurring giving. So shout out to Mobile Cause for the membership. The annual giving is when people give on a reoccurring basis. but for on an annual basis. So let's just say I give $1,000 every year to my favorite charity, and I'm going to give every year as opposed to every month. Sometimes people want to do every month. Sometimes people want to do one big gift a year because of end of year tax season stuff. So boom, annual giving. And so we're going to get into this in a second, but there are different types of donors. There are different ways that you cultivate donors. And so we're going to get into that in just a second. So hang tight. And then we have trust. So this was something that I learned when I was with my nonprofit. And also, interestingly enough, when I was working in a past life for a financial advisor. So I was working with Ameriprise Financial, which is a Fortune 500 financial planning company. And what I saw was not only that clients that are hiring Ameriprise, they have millions and millions of dollars, but these individuals were literally creating trusts to donate to their, designated charity once they pass away. Now, this is a very niche group of people, and this is something that this would require a lot of cultivating, a lot of interaction with the donor before you even have the conversation of, hey, so can we be your beneficiary or what? Because that's something that's very special for someone to be able to give their money. And in particular, for a trust, you don't just want to approach someone saying, hey, pick us to be your trust. You don't want to post it on social media. This is something that you could post on your website as an opportunity, or maybe ways to give, and you can list all these different opportunities. But again, it's strategy on how you are going to approach this. You're not going to screenshot this and put this on your website. I hope you don't do that. But what you want to do is tell people that, hey, there are multiple ways to give, and here's how. And so you give them a story on how they give and why that's so impactful. And then you start building those relationships from there. All right. So I think this one is my favorite because this one gives a big, high, lovely return on investment. It's called social enterprise. So I was introduced to this idea when another nonprofit told me that when I created a speakers bureau for our organization, that it was a social enterprise living within the nonprofit. Now, I'm not a CPA, but one of the things that I will tell you is that if you create a social enterprise model that supports your mission, and of course, it isn't a conflict of interest. Now, you don't want to start your own business within the nonprofit. That's just probably not going to be a good idea. And donors probably wouldn't like to see that. But a social enterprise allows you to make money for your cause. Outside of the traditional, grants, corporate digital events, and private donations. For me, I created a speakers bureau, which generated roughly $20,000 a year when I was running it. And from that, we actually were able to compensate survivors who were on the bureau. And so I was able to showcase, one, that we could get this much money because of being a world-class speakers bureau, and two, we were able to compensate survivors for sharing their story. And so that story of sharing that opportunity to provide compensation to speakers in that way was pretty huge, because this showed, hey, we are invested into our community. This is one way that we're doing it. And on top of that, we are providing education for the community and beyond. And the opportunities that came from the Speakers Bureau were just incredible, from colleges to youth groups to um, schools in India, just so many different places around the world that I was able to speak at along with several of our other speakers. It was just a really great opportunity. Merchandise is great. Bonfire.com, if you haven't heard of them, a lot of people are looking to create merchandise. Coming from someone who used to sell t-shirts out of the trunk of my car. One of the things that I will tell you, that's the first way that I raised money, is I invested into buying t-shirts for, I don't know, it was like $7, $8 a piece. And then I would turn around and sell them, and 100% of the proceeds would go back to the nonprofit.
And so while that was great, I still had to pay for shipping. I still had to create labels. I still had to go to the USPS, and eventually I started doing it at home. But then I was selling hundreds of shirts online. And while that was great, that took away time from me doing anything else. I wasn't able to fundraise in other ways. I wasn't able to do X, Y, and Z without having to work around the clock. So everything that I'm going to talk about today is I want us to work smarter, not harder. And I want to create an effective way on how we can raise money without literally having to put in 20 hours a day to make this happen. So, merchandise out of the trunk of my car, that's literally how I did it. Then I started buying business cards and postcards to get sent out to different places, to get our name out there, to provide more services to people, to make those connections, to build that awareness of the services that we were providing. Then we were able to have a luau, which was our first fundraiser, which raised enough money to sponsor an entire retreat for survivors of domestic violence. Then we were able to get private donations from people who you just wanted to give just because. Then we received like award grants, which were like contests that we were in, and we won money that way. Social media campaigns, we started boosting that as well, not boosting like ads, but boosting like just creating more awareness in that. And then I started taking advantage of other things that are on this list. So 2015, like I said, I went to text to donate. 2019 was Facebook donations and Instagram live. In-person events were huge. So whether they were bake sales that supporters were doing on in their communities, or whether it was me putting on big productions, people hosted events for us. Different sororities, fraternities, different nonprofits raised money for us. There was an organization back in San Diego that was a theater production company, and it was for vagina monologues. They turned around and gave us money that they raised. So there were checks coming in here and there for different things. But what really made consistent revenue for us that we didn't have to worry about was Facebook donations. And it's because we had built for the last 9 years content that was original and content that was quality that people could stand behind and want to engage with because it was so unique and top quality. So goods. So I seen this at the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence Conference. They had a nonprofit there that really intrigued me, that basically they had, and I still have it actually, jewelry made from victims of human sex trafficking. And they had these women build jewelry, and the money that was received from those jewelries went back to them to help them escape violent situations in their home country. So that was really powerful. There's so many different ways that you can use goods to raise money for your nonprofit. Program registration. So we actually charge survivors to attend our retreat. Personally, I felt and I believed in doing so, just because you have buy-in, just because you have people that are going to show up to your event. Granted, there were many people who purchased registration and still didn't show up, but that money was reinvested into another survivor to get him or her at our event or at our program. But that was able to also cover the cost of the event as well. So program registration, I personally believe in it, because if you offer everything for free, you're going to get a different caliber of people. You're going to get less buy-in from the people to actually show up to your event. So program registration is key. However, if you are doing a fundraiser, let's just say a yoga fundraiser, and you want to charge people for that, every event is different. So I can't really give the template for all things events in this particular example. But if you're doing a yoga fundraiser, I also did one of those, very successful. We received more donations by just donation versus, hey, pay $10, because now if you have 100 people in the room and they all donate $10, you're only getting that amount, versus let's just say someone comes and they donate $100, $20, $30, $1. You want to make sure that you're using that donation tag on that one, just because you'll get more money that way. Speakers Bureau, already went over it. Classes and education. This is huge. It goes into the Speakers Bureau. However, let's just say you don't have a Speakers Bureau and someone wants you to come out as the founder of your nonprofit. This would be an opportunity where you could say, hey, can you make a donation to my cause? And let's just say they give $100. If you continue doing that, that's an opportunity for you to earn a salary. But on top of that, that could be a part of your job description. But this is a great way for you to earn money for your organization. Great social enterprise model could be starting an e-course where you're talking about the different things that your nonprofit does, but not just talking about it, but actually training them on a particular topic. Let's just say your nonprofit is about veterans. You want to make sure that you could do if you did an e-course for that as a social enterprise model. It could be overcoming PTSD, and you have different modules talking about PTSD and how you overcome it. People purchase into the e-course, they have it for life. It's a whole thing, but this is literally what you can do to earn money for classes and education. Or you say, hey, every Saturday we're offering a class. You can buy into that, or it's a donation based. Any way that you can further your nonprofit's mission is key. And I'm all for it, especially if it's going to help nonprofits earn an income and be able to raise more money without relying on one particular source. Here are some other options as well. They were kind of like the random ones for me. So fill them in wherever you see fit, because there was only so much space on the first page. So Amazon Smile, it's just an easy set and forget. Now, am I going to bank on Amazon Smile? Absolutely not. You're going to get literally $10, $20, $30. The likelihood of you getting thousands of dollars on Amazon Smile is if you have thousands of people spending thousands of dollars on Amazon Smile. However, we'd rather get those people to, hey, I know you're shopping on Amazon, just put us as your beneficiary, and boom, it's literally set and forget. I go shopping on Amazon quite often, and I select different charities to donate to. So if you tell people that you can select a nonprofit, and all you have to do is type in Amazon Smile or click the link where it says choose a beneficiary, and they pick their nonprofit. But again, don't bank on Amazon Smile. Don't over promote Amazon Smile, because you're not going to get a big return. I had thousands of followers, hundreds of thousands of followers, millions of people on our page, and it's just not a big return on investment. I think it's 0.01% or 0.05%. So it's a very, very, very small return on investment. But it's an easy thing to just put on your website as a banner, or as a little or as a little announcement every now and again. But again, don't bank on Amazon Smile. Wow, I can't talk. I'm just blending all the words together. Virtual benefit concert. This one is a fun one. I did one before I left the nonprofit. Very successful. We were able to tap into a new group of donors online. We were able to tap into people all over the world. A virtual benefit concert could look like a variety of different things. The Nonprofit Makeover actually offers virtual benefit concerts. And my tip, again, another seed to be planted, is if you have a corporate donor who is interested in underwriting an event like this, basically covering the cost of the event, and you literally reap the benefits from there. And the cool thing about that, versus this being in the same bucket as major production, is the virtual benefit concert can be used over and over again, versus a charity gala is only going to be used one time. You're going to spend $20, $30, $50,000 for a one-time event. You're going to hire all these people for that event one time, and your event's going to cost you a lot of money. I remember one of my last galas was like $20,000, and the return on that wasn't $20,000. So with that being said, a virtual benefit concert, and what the Nonprofit Makeover provides, is we actually put together the musicians, the sound, your colors, the location. We have a venue here in Colorado that we can put this entire production for you. You actually don't even have to show up, because we provide you a spokesperson. We speak for you. We get those donations. It's not guaranteed in the amount of money that you get, but I'm all about working smarter, not harder. And if I can do the heavy lifting for you, definitely let me know. I'll provide our email in this module so you can check that out. So, virtual benefit concert, super awesome, super clutch for organizations or nonprofits who just have so much going on and they don't have the time or the capacity to plan an event like that. A virtual benefit concert, the one we did at least, looked like $100,000 production, and it was valued at $100,000 as well. But the beauty of this is that we offer this for much less than that, something that nonprofits can use quarterly if they wanted to. And it's a timeless production that you can use again to promote online, anywhere, sell virtual tickets for. It's there's so much opportunity there. Foundation grants. So this is also another form of grants that you can tap into. This is, like I mentioned, the Colorado Nonprofit Association is an example. I'm not sure if they still offer grants, but there are different foundations in different communities that offer select funding for different causes. Now, all you have to do is type in your city and foundation grants, and a bunch will pop up on Google. Opportunity drawing. So this one was probably my mom's favorite. She's a super fundraiser. I got it from my mama. We were able to work with Alaska Airlines for numerous years before they started laying off employees and things started getting very downsized because of the pandemic. But there are a lot of airlines, if not all, that offer free airline vouchers for nonprofits. All you have to do is fill out an application. A lot of times they say yes, sometimes they say no, but you want to make sure that you are still applying for them nonetheless. So Alaska Airlines would donate 2 airline tickets, round trip tickets to anywhere Alaska Airlines flies. There was no blackout dates and they were worth $2,500. So we use that for silent auctions. We use that for live auctions. We use that for opportunity drawings. You can't call them raffles because it's not IRS friendly. So there are opportunity drawings where people can donate and potentially win tickets to anywhere Alaska Airlines flies. The difference between, let's just say, a live auction, a silent auction, and a giveaway type thing is the one, who is going to be donating to who, how many people are you going to be donating or asking to donate to, what platform are you doing this on, and how much are you trying to raise. So the cool thing about opportunity drawings is that you can charge something like, $25 a ticket and sell a bunch of tickets, and still you're making 100% profit because you're getting a free voucher valued at $2,500. The goal, of course, is to raise $2,500 with that voucher. A silent auction is where you're at an event and people aren't necessarily bidding on it like a live auction. A silent auction is where you put down a piece of paper and you say starting bid at, let's just say, $100. Typically, what I like to do is 30% of whatever the value is. So pick 30%, start off there, and then increase from there, I don't know, by $100 just based on the value of the gift. With that being said, you could get an amount of money, but the difference between that one and a live auction is a silent auction isn't going to get you motivated to keep going unless it's a really stellar prize and you really want to get that prize. Just because I remember, I think I shared the story with you. I was actually hosting a live auction and I was bidding between me and Christy Mack, which she has so much more money than I do. And basically we were going back and forth and we were bidding, and I was like, I'm going to go to Hawaii. I'm using these tickets. And so her and I went back and forth. We raised a ton of money for the cause. But a live auction gets you excited. A live auction is going to get you pumped up. And again, it depends on who's in the room, who's actually going to donate. And all those factors play into which type of auction or opportunity drawing is the best for your organization. This next one, board, give or get. This is a hot question that a lot of nonprofits have asked. And basically, a board, give or get is something that you, as the founder or executive director or nonprofit person, it depends if this is in your pay grade to have this conversation. But basically, a board, give or get is when you set an amount for your board to contribute. Now, I don't want to call this monthly dues because it's not like a membership. But this is an annual give for the nonprofit. Now, it could be monthly, but I called it a give or get, where you set an amount. I started, I think, at like $1,000. And then because each of the board members raised over $1,000, we set it to $3,000. So they're in charge of either giving out of their pocket $3,000 or getting $3,000. Now that could be, we had in the past someone get a payroll service donated to our cause. We had, people get grants from their employees donate to our nonprofit. We had people sell tables for our charity gala, which valued 3,000. We had people raise money for scholarships that exceeded 3,000. So those are 4 different examples, but basically, rule of thumb, when someone's signing on to your board, it's more than just, hey, yes, no, all in favor, let's motion, let's make this happen. But we need buy-in from the board because they are setting the tone for the nonprofit, and we need to make sure that they are giving as well. Now, if your board are not fundraisers, you can provide this training for them and we can make sure they are more comfortable at fundraising. Or you can say, hey, this is a requirement off top before you join. If you can't do this, this is one of our requirements. And we've actually had board members, prospective board members, decline being on the board because they couldn't fundraise. And you know what? It's okay. But this is one of the qualifications to be on the board. And I suggest it to be on your board. One-time gifts. So this could be, people that just give one time because they scrolled on social media. This could be a one-time guest that went to your event. This could be, one time a friend of a friend gave some money because the friend was a part of the nonprofit. One-time gifts are exactly what they are, a one-time gift. But the goal is to get them to give more than one time. Awards. So one of the examples for that one is I won an award through Glamour Magazine and Investigation Discovery. They gave my nonprofit $5,000 because I won an award. So if you see awards that are happening online, competitions, events, things of that nature that are happening, definitely apply for it. It doesn't hurt to apply. Again, it's like a grant. But, I had no idea that, number one, this competition existed, let alone I was nominated for it. And I was chosen amongst 800 other people. So anything is possible. And I want to encourage you, if you see awards, to apply for those. And the last one. So this one is a very recent one that me and one of my affiliates actually were discussing the other day. And so I won't get into too much detail with that, but I'm just going to give you an example of what could happen. So I'm wearing my business hat, right? So the affiliate program and what that could look like is working with, maybe I'll just use the nonprofit makeover as an example. So one of the things that the nonprofit makeover does or will be doing, once the e-course is officially launched, is offering nonprofits the opportunity to refer our program to other nonprofits to sign up for. The cool thing about it is that an affiliate program through the nonprofit makeover looks like every nonprofit that you get to sign on for our cause for this program that you are watching right now, you will get a percentage of the sale, and the amount of money, whatever is decided, gets donated back to your nonprofit. So 100% free. There is no big commitment. 3, you can promote it, but mainly it's word of mouth marketing. But there are other companies that offer this same initiative. I know a company right now who has a property that they would like to offer to nonprofits. It's a retreat site that I actually use currently for different programs, and they are looking to get nonprofits to raise a designated amount of money where they in turn would be able to provide donations to the nonprofit in return for a particular the agreement that the place would set. And so that was just not a good example. But a good example was the nonprofit makeover. If you want to raise more money, you want to create another stream of revenue, the nonprofit makeover offers an affiliate program for other nonprofits to participate and basically get compensated for referring other organizations to participate in our program. Woo! All right, that was so much information. Okay, streams of revenue. So I'm going to explain what these are real quick. I'm not going to read this word for word. Maybe I will. But streams of revenue. So these are the big buckets that I just showcased in the previous slide. Grants are money that's awarded that don't have to be paid back to you. Basically, it's typically to develop your nonprofit to help people a very specific need that your nonprofit is going to be fulfilling with the grant. So the grant, when you get that money, you are required to use it in a particular way according to the grant's specifics. So that is what grants are, whether it's local grant or whether it's federal funding. Each of them has a different designation of how the money should be spent. Corporate funding is a type of money that comes from a major business. Typically, they set money aside for social responsibility, for marketing dollars, to give back to charities. And this is an easy way to, especially if you have a big social media following, to be like, yo, come donate to my nonprofit. Here's the numbers. This is how many people we're reaching. That's why I hone in on content, because that's like the new way of advertising. People aren't really doing radio promotions. People aren't really buying billboards anymore because social media is one of the leading, if not the leading, I don't have my facts, so I didn't want to quote that, but social media is one of the leading sources of advertisement. And if they can get in front of a whole different demographic of people because they bought in or donated into your cause, they're all about that. In-person events. So as we all know, COVID has just derailed how events happen. Even when events come back to quote unquote normal, there will still be people who are like, I don't want to go to the event. And you're really missing out on some people that maybe would be big givers, or maybe they're, immunocompromised and can't get into a situation where they're in front of a lot of people. So we want to make sure that with in-person events that we get creative, that when they do come back, that you create a way that creating a type of event that hasn't been seen before, but can definitely be very well received, because people miss being in front of, people, myself included. So this is a great way to just think about it for when your community gets back to quote unquote normal. But I would not hold your breath on when that is, because we don't know the future. We obviously didn't know that COVID was going to be a thing and it was going to derail a lot of our organization's plans. So as we all know, in-person events are just like it's spelled, in-person events. Digital platforms. This is an outlet to accept and host fundraisers online. And I just gave a couple of different examples on ways that are digital platforms that you can accept money. But basically, my biggest thing and how our organization was so successful is that we started subscribing to different outlets that allowed us to have different sources of revenue. If I'm just accepting checks and cash, I am missing out on millions of dollars in donations, because there are so many other ways that you can engage your donors by having different forms of payment processing. That's the best way to explain digital platforms. Okay, more forms of revenue. So there are private social enterprise, and there's a difference between gift and donation. Private funding was, in other words, another way for the funding that we received on Facebook. Private donations are from people like you and I, businesses, families, corporations, where they can receive a tax deductible donation. Most of the donations that we received were crowdfunding style. They were peer-to-peer fundraisers. So we just blew it out the water with peer-to-peer, basically because of the ability that we gave people to give on any sort of platform that we had available. Social enterprise, we talked about that. It's an organization that provides a basic unmet need, that addresses a basic unmet need or solves a social justice problem. So let's just say the Speakers Bureau, let's just say different ways that you can, create a business model within your business model. And again, this is not where you would create a for-profit business necessarily and put it into your nonprofit. Again, I'm not a CPA, so you want to talk to your CPA about that. And if you don't have a good CPA, get another one. Difference between gift and donation. So a donation is a gift given by physical or legal persons, typically for charitable purposes, and a gift is typically an object. Here is a tip for you right now. Donors appreciate the relationships with the nonprofits they decide to work with. Nonprofits who value their donors and recognize their contributions are more likely to see them come back to give again. So if you're not thanking your donors, if you're not being super cheesy with those notes and those phone calls and those cards, you're going to see a big turnover of donors. And what you want to do is keep those donors happy, and that's through constant engagement, which we will get into in just a second. Now, you want to prioritize events wisely. This is really important because a lot of people miss the mark on this one. Now, a perfect example, we had a pretty diverse group of people who were donating to our cause. And one underlying thing that brought us all together was that we all saw the importance of giving back to domestic violence victims. Now, an event that I would go to would probably be something completely different than what my mom would go to if it didn't have to do with the cause. For example, a I don't know, a rock concert versus, a charity golf tournament. You're going to get two completely different types of people that are going to be going to two of those events. So when you are thinking about events, think about the people you're serving, think about the people who typically donate, think about their interests, their ages, their demographics, the type of people they are, also the type of donor that they are, which we will get into in just a second. But promoting the events, over promoting events will drain your current and prospective donors. And so what that looks like, and I've seen this especially for Giving Tuesday, is donate, donate, donate. Every post they did for the whole month was donate, donate, donate. Now, people are not going to follow a page that consistently asks for money and not posting anything else. So if your nonprofit is doing that, stop doing that. And intermix that with different types of posts. One of the things, or one of the rules of thumbs that I've gave other nonprofits is mix it up. And when you have great content and you showcase the need or showcase the type of people that you serve, and then showcase that, hey, this is what we need from you. This is how you can make a big impact with us. And that's how they give, because they see that you're doing great stuff. You don't have to necessarily say, hey, make a donation every single time or every single week, because they know that you need donations. You're a nonprofit, and so they just know. However, showcasing the need, let's just say you have a retreat. Let's just say you're going to buy 100 backpacks for your local elementary school, and you need to have 100 people donate and fill backpacks. That is a perfect opportunity to say, hey, here's our need, donate to our cause. But right here in this particular example is that we're going to talk about prioritizing events and the different type of events and segmenting your donors based on their interests. So I gave a couple examples. Again, you can screenshot this. But these are different types of events that are out there. And there are thousands of others. Again, I just gave a bunch of ideas in our previous slide. And here are some of the events that we've done, and they've been successful, and they are very different in their own unique way. So I'll just explain what they are to kind of give you some ideas and get your juices flowing. A benefit concert or battle of the bands. So we did this one and it was super well received. We didn't actually have a lot of promotions for our battle of the bands. It was just a local event. We didn't live stream it because the internet was a little bit sketchy in that venue. But a benefit concert or a battle of the bands, it's a virtual concert experience or a competitive musical performance. So if you have access to musicians in your city, this is the perfect opportunity, whether they have 1,000 followers or they're, just locally well known or whatever their situation is. Ask them to perform a couple songs and have them compete with other artists. And then basically you have a team of judges where they pick their best band. Maybe you have a crowd favorite. We did that as well. And each of the bands either can raise money for your cause, or they just show up for free because they donated their time. And then from the money that you raise, you can offer a prize package to one of the nonprofits. You can, hook them up with a photo shoot or a video shoot or something that maybe other businesses can tap into and help support. That way you aren't paying out of pocket. Again, every one of these events, the goal is to get it done for free. Of course, that's not the situation on every single every single thing, because of course everyone needs to pay their bills, everyone needs to make sure their lights are on, because each of these places are businesses and require those. So for us as nonprofits to be like, yo, give me all of it for free, and expecting that each of these places give for free, it's kind of unrealistic, because especially right now, there are a lot of businesses who are struggling and need to at least to have some sort of compensation. So a discount is always great. Can we do like a trade of some sort? Any sort of creative idea that you can pitch to them is awesome. So a benefit concert or a battle of the bands, it's a virtual concert experience or a competitive musical performance. And it's just a way for you to have fun, get a fun crowd in there, get the people dancing, any way that you can create a memorable experience for your supporters, whether it's locally or, streaming this live online. There's just lots of different ways that you can make money off that one. Charity gala or golf tournament. This is pretty self-explanatory. Whether you are hosting a golf tournament or a charity gala, it's a pretty elaborate, pretty elegant, pretty expensive type of event. Again, if your ROI, aka return on investment, isn't worth doing it, don't do it. This is typically for, nonprofits who have the big budget or who have the sponsorship dollars that can cover and override the cost of the event. Now, if your nonprofit has to fundraise for the fundraiser in order to make it happen, it's not going to be worth it. Family event. So we've done different things like, gosh, doggy events. We've done events where, we're just inviting the whole family. You can do a chili cook-off. You can do some sort of like family game night where people are buying in tickets. Again, these are all things that are pretty much, this one in particular, are things that you can do that are almost free. So think of ways that you can tap into that could be potentially free. I mean, a chili cook-off is pretty much free if you get people to bring their own chili, and then you do some sort of competition with that, and then everyone eats, so everyone's excited after that. Holiday luncheon. So this is pretty self-explanatory. If you have a favorite holiday, or maybe a reason why you and your donors would want to celebrate, maybe it's your organization's birthday, maybe it's a special holiday like International Women's Day, whatever it is, use that opportunity to tap into raising money. You can get speakers or businesses to participate in auctions or giveaways, any way that people can contribute, whether it's to auctioning off the centerpieces that you got donated, maybe some flowers, and everyone gets to go home with flowers because you auctioned them off. I've done that before. We've done different types of things where, hey, together, I might not be able to give $1,000, but together we can. One of those things, we did that before as well, where we had a celebrity influencer come and he said, I'm going to match dollar for dollar what gets raised. Everyone bring your cash to the stage right now, and whatever we raise, I'm going to match it. So with that one was another just opportunity within the luncheon that you can raise money. And again, that's free to do. If you have a celebrity that's really passionate about your cause, invite them, tell them to help you, make that ask at the end. So there is definitely an opportunity there to raise money. Let's see what holidays we have coming up. Easter, Memorial Day, 4th of July, any sort of thing that you can think of. Get creative, be different. Because everyone does the traditional chicken dinners. And if you can create something that's different, then you have yourself an opportunity there. Telethon. So one of the things for Text to Donate, and I keep bringing that up because that was a huge part of our success as well, is a telethon. So we had collected their phone numbers as a part of the process of being a part of the Text to Donate. And so a telethon is literally picking up the phone, splitting that list into however many ways, how many volunteers and all that stuff, creating a script and calling the donors, thanking them for their gift and asking them to give again. Again, this is a strategy. This is not something you just pick up the phone and say, hey, can you give me money again? Again, you always have to have a need. You always have to present why your organization needs money right now and how their donation is going to make a big impact. So let's make sure that that is well thought out before it happens. But having a script, having a list of phone numbers, and having a telethon, or even streaming it live on Facebook and say, hey, everyone, call this number. You can use a Google voice number, so you don't have to buy a hotline number. And when they call that number, you can have them give to your cause. Themed events. So think holidays, like holidays, but you can do a Mardi Gras party, Valentine's Day, sweetheart mailers, a birthday party. There are so many different types of events that you can do for different groups of people. Themed events as well can be great for kids. Let's just say they want to have some sort of thing geared towards kids and they want to host it. Let's just say a Valentine's Day bash, and they're charging tickets, and you sell cups of juice, whatever that is. There's so many opportunities to give and get anybody, no matter how old they are, the opportunity to give. Here are some cost-effective fundraisers. Company sponsored, like we talked about, social enterprise, which we also mentioned as well. Talent show, that was one of my favorites because I'm also a dancer, and I participated in quite a few for the Lions Club, where they got a bunch of dancers. The dancers had to pay an entry fee or an application fee. People have to sell tickets to go. You get celebrity judges. You offer prizes. Maybe you offer them money, which typically gets people super excited. Maybe you do a crowd favorite where people, every vote for $1 gets money. And so these are all things for talent show in particular. You can easily do it at your local church. You can do it at a high school, places that you can tap into that are free. Again, these are all different ideas that other people can do for your cause as well. And showcasing these little things, creating little commercials. Let's just say, you got your kids dancing, saying, let's do a talent show, and here's your way you can fundraise. Obviously, it's a lot more complex than just that, but a talent show is a great way to get people excited and wanting to give. Bake sale. We had a mom who lost her daughter do a bake sale. She is a chef, and she had a bunch of items that she made along with people in her community also making baked goods. And so she raised the most I've ever seen in a bake sale. I think it was like $1,500 in one bake sale that she did, and basically just sold cheesecakes and cookies and everything that you can think of that was delicious, and sold it in front of a store that allowed her to do that in her hometown in Texas. And that was an opportunity for her to fund a scholarship for our nonprofit. Merchandise campaign. Again, bonfire.com. It's 100% free to use. If you want them to create a design for your shirt, I believe there is a fee for that, but it's free to create. You can sell hoodies, t-shirts, kids' clothes, tank tops, whatever. Coming from someone who used to sell merchandise, and I used to buy the shirts, then I used to pay to screen print them, and then I used to pay to mail them, and I used to go to UPS, USPS and do that, and I had to track the packages and make sure they get there on time and make sure they don't get lost, make sure the customers were happy. Bonfire does all of that for you, except calling your customers to make sure they received it. But they let you know when they get shipped out. They accept the payments. They send you a percentage because it's not 100% benefit to the nonprofit, but it's 100% free to use, and you don't have to pay for all those things that I just mentioned. So check bonfire.com out. Just a quick tip on that one. If your organization's name isn't like a catchy phrase, then I would probably stay away from selling t-shirts with logos on it, just because right now, like if your nonprofit doesn't have well-known credibility right now, or if it's just a name, or if it's not a catchy slogan, just because you want to think about shirts that people are going to wear. You see at different events all the time, like at color runs, where they are giving away a shirt with a bunch of logos on it. You're probably not going to wear that again. You're probably going to wear that to bed, but you want to make sure that the designs you are creating are trendy. People want to wear them. It's like a hip thing, hip outfit to wear with some cool pants, because that's what's going to get people to wear your shirt in public. And then with that, people are going to create like they're going to affiliate that shirt design with your nonprofit and want to ask questions on what that is and how you what it is and all the things in between. So it just so happens that I created a nonprofit with a really catchy name that I was able to use on different designs. So I just took our logo, I did one of that. I also did different catchphrases. Of course, we talked about this, but I had a campaign called FDV, and it wasn't F, it was the whole thing. But we had a creative design on how we did that. I used Break the Silence Against Domestic Violence on quite a few different shirt campaigns. But again, get creative. If your nonprofit's about veterans, choose a phrase for veterans. If your organization's on education, use a phrase on education. If your organization's domestic violence, think of a phrase that's so powerful that people are going to have no choice but to look at that shirt and ask questions. So that's the sauce on that merchandise campaign. The next one is Facebook birthdays. So everyone has a birthday. So we want to get creative on how you are asking for birthday donations. Now, the thing about this is another quick gem is you're not going to tell people, hey, we have Facebook birthdays, or you can donate for your birthday, choose us, with just a Canva graphic. You want to create a funny video. And I believe I attached that into this module as well to give you some content ideas. But you don't want to just use a, cheesy little graphic where it's not going to tell a story. It's not going to be like, hey, I'm Kristen, and for my birthday, here, let's give you an example for here's the difference. So option one is, hey everyone, it's my birthday in a week from now. I was really moved by I don't know, let's just say Inside Out, which is the nonprofit here in Colorado Springs. They created a community for the LGBT QIA community. And it's a place that I feel heard. It's a place that I can relate to. It gives people like me a voice. And I want you to stand with me and make a donation. My goal this year is to raise $1,000 because it's going to help them fund their next conference. I don't know. So that's just one example versus, hey everyone, Inside Out here, we offer Facebook fundraisers now, and we would love for you to celebrate with us. Boom. You can clearly see there's a difference there. And we want to make sure that any single time you're asking for donations, you are creating a story behind it. And I know without a shadow of a doubt, you have so many stories to tell. So let's make sure that you are showcasing those birthdays in a very fun way. And if you haven't tapped into Facebook birthdays, start with yours. How has your nonprofit impacted you? Why should your friends donate to your cause? How has this nonprofit changed your life? What do you want other people to know about your organization and where this donation is going? So those are some questions that I want you to think about when positioning yourself or your nonprofit as a beneficiary for Facebook birthdays. So the reason why our nonprofit was so successful with getting people to donate was, one, they understood that we were a nonprofit. Sometimes when you go on pages, people don't understand that there are Facebook nonprofits on there. Sometimes they think it's just an awareness page. So we want to make sure that they know it's a nonprofit. Two, we showcase how we impact people. Three, we give them the opportunity to give by showcasing the different ways they can give. Four, we showcase different testimonials and also create cheesy videos of people singing happy birthday, dancing all, funny, and people love that and want to give. And or we created a place, so I guess it would be the fifth opportunity or fifth reason why people created birthday fundraisers, is they were impacted by our cause. If they went to our retreat, if they shared their story on our page, if they knew someone who was a part of our cause, or maybe they lost someone to domestic violence. These are all ways that people are going to relate to your cause on a deeper level than just give me money. Ooh, we have so much more to go through. All right. Creative virtual fundraisers. So here are a couple. I'm not going to read them all because this it looks like some of the ones that we went through before. But the one I am going to cover is virtual run. A lot of people ask me, well, you raised so much money virtually on a run that you actually didn't even have to run at. So tell me more about that. I will in just a second. So a virtual run is super inexpensive, and it's a great way to get people outside and involved. And it requires, in my particular case, I'm going to use my nonprofit as the example because this is exactly what I did. So we used a digital fundraising platform. We recruited participants. We didn't run ads. We didn't do any of that. It was all organic. We created teams, and each of the teams symbolized different women who were killed from domestic violence. We partnered with their families, and the families and us raised money together for scholarships. So I think the first year that we did it, we had like 46 teams and gosh, like 200 plus donors, or no, 200 plus participants. And I think over 1,000 donors online through that platform. And so what that looks like is that we had a Ashley team, we had a Tabitha team, we had a Crystal team, a Maya. And so we had all these different families from all over the country have team pages where they set up a fundraising goal, and we asked them to fundraise at least $2,000. 1,000 went to the scholarship and 1,000 went back to supporting our mission. And so each of the families raised money and recruited people to join their team. On top of that, we helped get people on the team as well that were from our social media page. And so people would spend the next 22 days during the month of July, which was Bereaved Parents Awareness Month, and we had them fundraise like it was nobody's business. And so I'm going to tell you how I did it in a step-by-step process. So these are the three main buckets I'm looking at. We had a fundraising platform, which was MobileCause. I will also say, just because you're probably wondering, well, have you tried other platforms? Yes, I have. I've tried GoFundMe. I've tried MobileCause. I've tried PayPal. I've tried Classy. I've tried, there was another like crowdfunding thing. I've also tried Facebook, and all of those platforms had their pros and cons. And of course, Facebook will always be my absolute favorite in terms of raising money online. But MobileCause was a great outlet that did so many different things that allowed this opportunity to happen. That was actually the first fundraiser that we did. And once we did it, it just blew the company out the water. And they were like, how did you do it? And now they use our nonprofit as a testimony on how people can raise a ton of money without needing a ton of money. So we used MobileCause. And just to kind of give you a visual of it, I don't have a screenshot of MobileCause, but basically it's a text to donate software. And once you set up the online backend, basically think of it like a GoFundMe, but with several GoFundMes within GoFundMe. And basically what that looks like was creating different teams, which I did on the back end, or the family created it on their own, just so we had that extra buy-in to make sure that they wanted to participate or get involved at least. And also from there, we had people sign up. And so it was free to sign up. You could have done a ticketed event, but in this case, we did it for free. And we also had the opportunity for them to purchase a t-shirt once they registered. And so we're getting t-shirt sales in there, and we're getting people to sign up. And then between July 1st and July 22nd, we had people fundraise like it was nobody's business. We had people doing in-person fundraisers. We also encouraged people to walk a mile every day for 22 days to really get that outside activity in there. We had people, gather during lunch for work to get people to walk. We had people walking all over the place, posting pictures, sharing photos, and we shared those photos as we received them to create that worldwide camaraderie. And so first, you need a fundraising platform on where you are going to host this. So all the people are all in one. And so the cool thing about MobileCause as well is that we were able to see how much each team was raising. We're also able to see how much money individuals were raising, and also create a scoreboard of who is the highest fundraising team. And that also created that competitive spirit because everyone wanted to win. And so we were all fundraising our butts off to make sure that we were just doing the most. The next thing was virtual teams and fundraising concepts. So Virtual teams, like I said, and the concept behind it was each team, whether it was 10 teams or 40 teams, each individual team represented, in this particular case, the example that I'm going to use is the angel run that we created. But again, this could be any sort of theme that you want to create for your nonprofit. Basically, we created virtual teams. So let's just say, again, going back to the angel run, we had several different teams that all symbolized someone who lost their life to domestic violence. This could be the same concept, partnering with families that lost loved ones because of war. You could have teams symbolizing, different people that you've lost due to suicide. You can do another team. And all of these, as you can see, a trend, these are all memorial scholarships. So in the event that you want to create a memorial scholarship, this kind of would be the template. But of course, if you wanted different teams to symbolize, survivors or volunteers or whoever you want, you have the ability and the creative freedom to do that. So we created virtual teams, and that ranged from like 10 to 40 teams some years. And basically each of those represented a different scholarship. We showcased their story during that month. We partnered with a family to, interview them. We got a blog out about them. So this, as you can tell, when we go back to the whole concept of campaigns, this was a huge campaign that we did during the month of July. We had blogs, we had content, we had stories, we had videos. We did Facebook Lives. We did trainings during the month to talk about grief. And on top of that, we were doing fundraisers to get people to donate as well. And so these are different opportunities that you can tap into, and different groups of people that you can tap into as well. Again, this was our most successful fundraiser that we ever have done. And literally it was all online. Personal reward. So we did different incentives for people. We gave them shirts. Sometimes we gave away medals. Again, going back to the USPS and all the things that are required of shipping once it's a virtual event, we still made it happen. We sent medals out to everybody. We sent certificates of gratitude. We sent cards, thank you cards, to every single donor. And again, another quick gem real quick, and I talked about it in a previous lesson, but Benevity is a company that I want you to subscribe to if you have not already subscribed to it. Benevity partners with Kohl's. Kohl's is a department store. Back in the day, meaning before COVID, they would give away $500 for every 3 hours that their employees volunteered with your nonprofit. Let me just say that again. Kohl's, the department store, was giving away $500 for every 3 hours 5 employees volunteered their time. So you better believe your girl contacted 30 different Kohl's stores across the country during their, brace yourself, double the donation month. That meant every 5 employees that volunteered 3 hours, Kohl's donated $1,000 to nonprofits. That month, we raised $30,000. Because of COVID, they have since changed their model. I'm sure they're going to get back to it once things get back to quote unquote normal. But right now, I believe their new model is $20, which again, it's not huge, but if you're a nonprofit that needs money right now, this is a great way to do it. And this is the perfect example and a perfect segue, because what we did is that we had different people who were impacted by our nonprofit, primarily angel families, write testimonies about our work that our nonprofit did. And from that, we got Kohl's employees to write thank you cards on their behalf. We had thousands and thousands of cards written from Kohl's all across the country. And the cool thing about it was that all we had to do was invest $10. That was a box of cards and markers. And we sent that to each store, had them write hundreds of cards. And in return, we got $30,000. So different stores, again, got a $10 box of cards and markers. They got a script, they got a label so that they can mail the cards back to our nonprofit. And that was one way that we were able to use Benevity, AKA Kohl's employees, to raise money for our nonprofit. And how you do it, you subscribe to Benevity, contact your local Kohl's store, ask them if they're doing any volunteer projects. If you're looking for the person who is in charge of that, they're called the AI manager. Again, this is the sauce. No one knows about it. So keep this between you and I. That was one way we did it. And so you can get people to donate. And again, getting Kohl's employees to write all those cards are a perfect way for you to raise tons and tons of money. All right, so I'm going to talk about the virtual benefit concert real quick. So this is literally a screenshot. My hair is looking real fabulous and my tan is on point. It's been super cold in Colorado and I'm sad that my tan is just like non-existent. My melanin is just non-existent. Okay, so virtual benefit concert, boom. So me and my husband teamed up for this project. He is a music executive with Anthem Music Enterprises. Quick plug, they create songs for a cause or impact anthems for nonprofits. So think about like a Katy Perry Roar or like a Destiny's Child Survivor anthem. Those types of songs will just get you so pumped up because they're just so impactful. Think of that. And that's what Anthem Music Enterprises creates. So I teamed up with Anthem Music Enterprises. We created a virtual benefit concert. As you can see, it's even though this is a screenshot of the event, we had musicians travel in from all over the country to perform for our cause live. It was live streamed. And again, we were able to use this again and again because it lives online. So you're able to repost that, recreate that experience all year long if you really wanted to. And so the cool thing about virtual benefit concerts and what the nonprofit makeover does is that we put all of this together for the organization. And the beauty about it is that it takes work off of your plate. And all you have to do is secure a sponsorship to underwrite the cost of this event, and you have a timeless product. Now, the difference between this and a charity golf tournament or a gala is that can only happen one time. If you are asking a sponsor, quick gem again, if you were asking a sponsor to underwrite a virtual benefit concert that you can use 4 times a year, they get their business out 4 times a year versus giving your nonprofit $10,000 for one-time deal. So this is a way for your organization to raise lots of money. I understand how precious donation dollars are, especially during a pandemic. I also understand how stressful fundraising can be when social distancing is still in place. So until then, we got to get creative. And even then, virtual benefit concerts will still be a thing, because if you want to save money, if you don't want to pay for an auctioneer, if you don't want to pay for all those things and all the travels and all the stuff, literally my team can do it. So boom, just a quick gem. And so who are your donors? Here are different types of donors I want to get into real quick. And so this is different types of people. Now, when I say friend and family, it doesn't necessarily have to be your friend or family, but this is just the name I used. So an associate is someone who donates to their cause because they were a part of your cause. Maybe they participated because they know someone who was a part of, donates because someone they know is a part of the cause. I just got to read it slower. So let's just say my friend donated because they saw that I supported the cause. So there's an associate. It's somewhat of a friend, but a friend is someone who's actually been to an event. They've seen something online, versus a family member who is someone who's invested in the cause. They donate whenever a need is presented. They are someone who, let's just say you're having a retreat and you need 100 bottles of water. You can count on that family person to donate. Again, I'm not talking about literal family. I'm talking about someone who is a part of your cause and donates consistently because they see a need and they just want to fill that need. They want to fix it. They want to be a part of it. They want to be a part of the action. Advocate. So this is someone you can count on anytime because they are a reoccurring donor. This person donates on a consistent basis. Maybe they already set up their online giving to give once a month. Maybe they're giving, big amounts, low amounts, but nonetheless, they're giving consistently. Philanthropist. This is the person who's writing the big checks. Typically, I would only ask this person or persons to donate one time. Maybe they're writing a big check for our scholarships. Maybe they're writing a big check for our financial literacy program. Whatever it is, this program or this group is not going to be asked for donations every day. They're not going to be asked for donations every month, let alone every quarter, especially if they're writing big checks. We want to be cognizant of that and make sure that we're tapping into the appropriate type or strategy of asking for donations, depending on who the people are in this whole deal right here. Then we have corporate giving. This is a business who they have their social responsibility and the marketing dollars to support your cause. So they might, give you a check for your talent show because they want to say Wells Fargo sponsored your talent show, or they're donating because they have to donate before the end of the year because they have $1 million to give away and they have to give away $1 million or else they lose it. So corporate has a responsibility to give. And again, Double the Donation has a subscription and a free trial that you can check out to see what companies are matching dollars. Because that's a whole nother thing, is that you have people that are building relationships with your cause and then telling people about it, and then they're matching donations. So if Christine is donating $1,000 this year, tell her, hey, let's get that matching dollar grant, and make sure that your company is donating money also to match your dollars. How to cultivate donors. So here is the sauce on what I would do if I'm looking for new donors or trying to get new donors to donate to my nonprofit. This is how I would literally do it. First, identify the donor. And I want to do that by creating content that relates to them. I want to create a community online that can relate to my donor. If I'm trying to get, older individuals to donate, but I'm constantly posting TikToks and fun dance routines and all the fun stuff that all the young people like, they probably might not think twice about going onto my page. Therefore, they're not going to donate. However, if I pull their heartstrings just a little bit hard enough to say, hey, did you know that 1 in 4 people, or 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men will fall victim to domestic violence, and that could be your son or daughter? Ooh, you're going to hit the heartstrings. You're going to hit that message home. So we want to make sure that the language that we're using, the stories that we're using, is going to help inspire the people to stay on your page, to stay on your website, to stay involved and engaged with your nonprofit. And I'm all about talking about content because really, in this time that we're living in, we have no choice but to do that. In-person events are on hold and we don't know when they're coming back. So we have to pivot until those days come back to the point where we can raise those big dollars. Even when they do come back, still mixing and mixing both of those together. That way you have the ability to reach lots more people. So you want to identify your donor. And I think this is funny because I wrote, cultivating donors is like dating. You want to get to know them. What are they like? Where are they from, and build from there? What's their vibe? What are the things they like? Why do they give? And if you haven't done this, you can survey your donors, ask them a couple questions. Why do you give to our nonprofit? And use those as testimonials for other donors to give. So if Jana is donating because her daughter was affected by abuse, share that, because there are millions of other moms that are going to donate because their daughters were also affected in that similar way. So sharing those stories, building that connection, community building is huge. Making it easy to give. So if I am donating on Facebook and I'm sharing it with 785 of my friends and saying, hey, I just donated to Not My Own Community. It was so easy to give. This is how I did it. I'm celebrating with me and my friends, and I want more friends to donate and more people to support their cause because I love them. They're great. They're doing wonderful things, and I believe in their mission. You just tapped into 785 more donors who didn't know about your nonprofit. The power of social media is limitless because you have the ability to tap into 785 donors more than that one donor that you had to inspire for that grant. So Instead of just relying on grants, let's use social media to the best of our abilities and get people to share the content, get people to be inspired because their story was featured on your page. Let's get stories out there of people that you've impacted and really showcase the impact that you're making and saying, hey, we need you so we can have more Kristens. We need you so we can have more Jhanas inspired by the work that we do, and they need you to share my stuff. So boom. Here's an example of some language that I would use. Of course, if this is something that is relevant to your cause, feel free to take it. But connect and engage. When you celebrate your birthday with us, we feed 1,400 men and women suffering from homelessness on America's most impoverished communities, in some of America's most impoverished communities. So you tell a story, you say the impact, and let's just say you're in Chicago, you're saying, hey, let's stop gun violence, and this is how we're going to do it. And if you give us this amount of money, we can do this with that. The cool thing and the powerful thing about nonprofits is that we create something out of nothing, literally. We create impact out of pennies. And there is no other business out there like nonprofits who are doing what you're doing. And we need to get that out there and showcase it. Because the truth is, 1.5 million nonprofits are in the US right now. And we have to showcase why your organization is different. And so these are some of the different ways that you can engage with donors. And the diversity of these things are really key, because you're not just going to use social media. You're not just going to write and mail them out letters to say, hey, it's that time of year, you should give. You're not just going to use advertisements. These are several different ways that you can tap into that's going to engage donors at a different level. I can't remember the number that statistics had it, but something along the lines of, like, I don't know, it was like 5 to 7 times before you have to engage with donors and even customers. Is so, like, even for a for-profit business, you have to touch them 7 times on average to get them to donate. So if you're expecting someone to give one time because they saw you one time, I mean, it happens, it really does. But if you want to get more and more people, giving more and more touches is going to be key. So tap into that newsletter, give them phone calls, pick the phone up and say, thank you so much for donating. I hope you have a great day. Something as simple as that is going to create those relationships and get them to donate more and more. And then, which is cool, perfect example, I did that. I tried the phone call method, and I literally picked up the phone one day and called like a dozen different people. And literally, because some of those people I was friends with on Facebook as well, they shared that I called them and thanked them for their donation. So guess what? 1,000 people, because Jana wrote that on her Facebook, now knows that, oh, we are a step above our donation game. Another example, I sent a handwritten note to several donors. I sent a little picture as well, simple picture that I printed out Walmart, put that in the envelope from someone who was impacted by our nonprofit, along with a little, note from me. So many people posted those same cards on their social media, tagging the nonprofit, saying this nonprofit cares about their donors. I can't tell you how many people that I've donated or how many nonprofits I've donated to, and not one of them has treated me like this, which was, giving them that A1 VIP experience. So make sure you are treating your donors, every single one of them, like VIPs, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have nonprofits. They keep our mission alive. Using that type of language is literally what inspires people to give more. If it wasn't for our donors, we wouldn't be here today. If, we can only give as much as you allow us to. Finding different languages like that or different speeches like that can really spark some really awesome and very sentimental interactions with your donors that will result into more donations. So here are some ways that you can give that don't just require social media. Again, it's super involved, and you want to get your board, you want to get your volunteers involved on each of these processes. But you definitely, again, just to hone in from one of our first slides, you don't want to put the pressure of other people fundraising for your cause, because if you aren't motivated to fundraise, they won't be either. So I had to set the tone for my team on how to give, why to give. I provided trainings for them. If you are not a professional fundraiser, I mean, what I'm covering today is so much, so many different ideas. But again, at the end of the day, it's the ask, it's how you ask, the consistency of the ask will is what is going to get people to give. So if you need training, look into training. If you want a more in-depth discussion with me, let's talk about it. Because all of these things are going to result into more dollars. But if you don't know how to ask, if you don't know what to ask in the appeal letters or in the email letters or in the phone calls, let's have a conversation. So this is a quick and easy how to engage donors online, because for the most part, a lot of nonprofits know how to do it in person, because it's so much easier to get someone to give in person because you're standing right in front of them. But if you are, really trying to get onto a digital platform and really build that digital presence, this is how we're going to do it. So we're going to create the content, which we already talked about, cater to your audience. If you're trying to get young people, create young people content on young people content platforms like TikTok or Snapchat or Instagram, and create content that's really going to engage them, like the Now This style. Again, a lot of the things that I'm mentioning are things that we've talked about in previous lessons. So that is key. Creating content, ultimately just straight up creating content that is going to appeal to your audience. Cater events to your donors. So we talked about that as well. If your donors are millennials, cater to millennials. Millennials love to be entertained, and I'm saying this from a place of myself. We love to be entertained, and we love to have a good time on a budget. I mean, a lot of different people like to do this as well, but I'm just talking about millennials. Um, Another suggestion is asking your donors what they like. If your donors love food, then do a food fundraiser. If your donors love dancing, do a dance competition. Whatever that looks like, don't be afraid to ask your donors what they like, so you can be sure that you are catering to the people that are supporting your organization. Convenience for donating. Now, I'm honed in on this a million times, but here are several different ways on how you can accept donations. This is Facebook, PayPal, text to give, checks, cash, events, mail in, and your website. So the easier you make it for people to give, is the easier it is to get donors to contribute on a consistent basis. And of course, the tip, text to donate is where it's at. And so here are some hip young ways to get young people to give. I get asked this quite a bit, being a millennial. How do we get young people to give? I know a lot of older people, baby boomers, and I believe it's Gen Y, or is that millennials? I can't remember. But we want to make sure that everyone is a part of the giving, and not necessarily writing the big checks, but let's just say my 15-year-old daughter wants to figure out how to give. How can she become a philanthropist at her age? How can she, rock it and be a social changer without having to host a gala or a golf tournament? Now, my other daughter was at an event with me and my husband, and she was selling opportunity drawing tickets for giveaways. And she raised $1,500 because her cute little self was asking everyone and anyone for donations, because she's that fearless child. And so these are different ways that young donors can give, from silent discos, which is like when you put the headphones on and there's music that comes out of the headphones and not out in, like, just you can hear it outside of the headphones. Fun events like Fortnite. My son loves Fortnite. So Fortnite and Among Us, like tap into what kids like and give them the opportunity to give. Once you showcase that some young person created a Fortnite tournament and, they did some real awesome stuff. One, if they love Fortnite, they could probably get Fortnite to sponsor it, or get some Fortnite people to participate in the tournament. Or you can get Fortnite swag donated by whoever makes Fortnite gear. An Easter egg hunt. I wanted to do this so bad, but because of COVID, I didn't get to do this. So I'm going to plant this seed real quick. Um, get 1,000 eggs donated, like the plastic ones. And in those, put different prizes, whether it's candy, whether it's a gift certificate, whether it's a TV, get a bunch of businesses to donate different prizes and put a little paper in there. And so you get a park, go to a park, fill it with eggs, and basically sell tickets for people to participate, however much that is. Raffle off, I don't know, vacations or airline tickets or whatever it is in those eggs. But then get tons of people, like get thousands of eggs, and then get people to buy those tickets. Boom, 100% profit. Social media engagement, again, meet them where they're at, incentives, different ways that people can win stuff, easy ways tapping into your local businesses, whether it's spas, movie theaters, anything, you name it. Right now, people want exposure for their business. May it be they're struggling, but nonetheless, people want exposure and they want to know about whatever opportunity is happening. Sell merchandise, cool stuff. Look at trends. Look at what young people are wearing right now. Things, everyone loves hoodies. Everyone loves Champion. Everyone likes those things, all the things and the stuff. So look at trends. And if all else fails, ask your kids, what do you guys like? Well, I don't tell me because you're weird and you like different things than I do. So pick, different things and get excited about it and then promote it. Um, and of course, finding trends. What's trending right now? So basically anything on TikTok. And here's a real quick timeline. I'm also going to send this copy to you, but feel free to snapshot this. This is my ideal timeline for a major event. Now, as you notice, I didn't go through every single event. I didn't write down what things I need to purchase or things like that. That's a whole nother animal. But let's just say I'm doing Battle of the Bands. Perfect case scenario, I want to start planning 6 months ahead of time. This is perfect case scenario. So I want to create the big picture, the theme, the date, the location, objectives, and identify who's going to be helping me with that event. It's very easy to want to take it on yourself, but I will say having help is going to make a major difference. Then we are jumping into the 3 months bracket, which makes us a little bit closer. I'm already going to hit the promotions. I'm going to create the event pages. Maybe I'm going to invest into fundraising software. I'm going to solidify the details for the event. So that means who's where, what, how, who's wearing what, all the details that it's going to take to make this event possible. Now I want to have I want to have a foundation already set. This is not me like already planning the event, or I'm already planned at this point. But this is me just fine tuning it to make sure that I have the pieces. If I'm missing pieces, this is where it will come up. 1 month out, it's game time. I'm preparing press releases. I'm finalizing the details. I'm doing a dry run. I'm talking to the people who are participating in the event, whether it's speakers, whether it's volunteers, whether it's the people who own the venue, if you're doing it at a venue. I'm going to finalize the supplies. What do I need? Do I need chairs? Do I need linens? Do I need picture frames? Do I need red carpets? I don't know what it is that you need, but that's kind of the example. And then meeting with the team. Having consistent meetings with the team is key. I try to do it once a month when I was putting on a big production. That way we're all on the same page. Now the meetings weren't going to be as long as this training as this training right here, but nonetheless, we're talking about who's doing what time do they need to be there, what do they need to bring, who do they need to tell, everything in between. Also, Kohl's, when they were opened for the big fundraising giving, we also tapped into Kohl's as well, to get them to give their employees the time to come to our event. And again, we were making $1,000, $2,000 just for volunteers to come to our event to help out. The week of, we're going to do a dry run. We're going to meet the team, day of schedules, meeting promotions, social media blasts, and additional event tasks. And then, of course, launching the event. Woo! This was the longest module that there was to mankind. But before we go, I wanted to answer your questions, and I'm going to pull them up right now, Whit. And where are they? Dun, 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 dun. All right. Hey, Whit, do you want me to just jump into your questions real quick and give the sauce?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, you are welcome. All right. So we went over some inexpensive ways to fundraise. So I was going to write this back to you in an email, but nonetheless, I was able to showcase that. So what are some inexpensive ways to raise money when you're just starting out? I think it's pretty safe to say that we covered that one. How does a virtual run or walk work? I also cover that one. Boom. I will say though, you're going to need a lot more time than April because you need time to figure out what platform you're going to use. You need time to figure out the teams. What teams are you going to have teams? You also need time to recruit for people to participate in your event. Because when our event first started, we did get really good traffic on that, but we also had a very good following. So what I would say is that if you are doing a domestic violence walk and run, or if you've done one in the past, I think a good one, and this again, just my suggestion, if you were doing it geared towards domestic violence, I would, to give you enough lead time, I would say do it in October. Here's why: it's your first one. You need time to market it. You need time to put it together. You need time to figure out how you're going to collect money. You need time to figure out where the money's going to go and who's going to help you with that event. There are a lot of pieces that go into planning a virtual walk or run, or even an in-person one. I know when we did an actual 5K in person, it was so much work that we were like, we're just going to keep this online. We wanted to see if it was going to be as successful as the virtual one, and it wasn't. So I will say, if you are doing a virtual walk or run, that I would give yourself ample time to plan it, more than just a few months. So she is looking at doing a yoga therapy event and was wondering if she should do donation only or charging a admission. My off top, I will say do it donation based, because like I mentioned, if you have someone walking in the door and they're there because of your cause, um, they could donate $100 versus, hey, you can donate $20, and they might just only donate $20 because you told them it was $20 to enter. But also give them maybe opportunities to buy, merchandise or other things to gain money in that. But I definitely would suggest charging a donation if you're doing it via online or even via Zoom. Facebook now has the ability to sell tickets for virtual events. And so I would say check that out and see how that works. And then if you already have a good turnout or a good pool of people that you can market this to, then I could easily say doing it in a month would work. But the more promotion time you have, typically about 1 or 2 months, is my best piece of advice for any type of event, which is whether it's virtual or in person, just because you give people the opportunity to check out the event, to check their schedules, to plan for kids, to plan for different stuff. But I definitely would say donation based would be pretty awesome. One second. Cool. How often should one host fundraising events? Monthly or what's up? So this is where creating a fundraising strategy would come in. And so going back to one of the first slides that we covered, it said how the components of creating a digital fundraising strategy or a fundraising strategy in it of itself. And here's my quick and easy template on how I would suggest you building this out. So I would take a piece of paper. I'm a very visual person, so that's why I say take a traditional piece of paper. Write January through December. Right when your programs are happening. Typically, what I saw as a trend for my nonprofit was we had a fundraising event typically every quarter. So our Evening of Hope event was typically in the beginning of the year, and then we had a survivor retreat at the beginning of the year as well. So Evening of Hope was February-ish. the Survivor Retreat was March or April. Then July was our Angel Run 5K. And then, of course, Domestic Violence Awareness Month was October. So we typically had a campaign. Giving Tuesday is in November. And of course, there's holidays. So we did like 9 days of giveaways where we raised money and offered grants or free funding for nonprofits, or not for nonprofits, for people from our nonprofit. So we did 9 days of giveaway, groceries, Visa gift cards, and things like that for people that needed help during the holidays. So I would suggest not doing a fundraising event every month. One, because that will burn you all the way out and that will make you not want to ever do fundraising events again. But the streams of revenue that I shared are things that are very high level that can create sustainability for your nonprofit that won't require you doing a bunch of in-person events. So if you tap into like double the donation, you find companies that can volunteer for your nonprofit. You can, tap into Kohl's, you can tap into grants if that's something that your nonprofit wants to do. Creating a social enterprise like a speakers bureau, creating, quarterly or bi-monthly Facebook fundraisers for different programs you have coming up, inspiring people to do Facebook fundraisers for their birthday, because if you have 365 friends, there's 365 birthdays that you can tap into. If you had 365 friends, let me do the math. 365 and everyone donated $250, that's $91,000. So again, I'm all about content. I'm all about maximizing your efforts without having to drain you out all the way until you can't function anymore. So I would definitely say do not do a fundraising event every month. Are there other text messaging apps or services outside of MobileCause that offer similar fundraising capabilities? There are. I have not used other text to donate companies. I have used other digital fundraising platforms, and I used Classy, and I will say it to their face, I hated them. They were terrible. They have the worst customer service, but they got me because they had great content. See, great content will lead you into the great beyond, but behind the scenes, if you have terrible customer service and your platform sucks, you're just lying to yourself. So I used Classy, which is MobileCause's competitor. There's also another one that I can't think of the name right now, but is also out there. I haven't used them. I used MobileCause. I love them. I didn't have any issues with them. They always had great content. They actually offer free training. So if you haven't tapped into them, subscribe to their channel or subscribe to their social medias and their newsletter, because they offer free trainings every month. So yes, there are stuff, but I haven't used them other than MobileCause. What are the typical responsibilities or functions of the board secretary and treasurer as it relates to fundraising? So just like I said a second ago, board members should definitely be giving or getting. So as a board, you have to come together and figure out what number that is. So if that is, hey, everybody, can we agree that in our bylaws or in our, governing documents or in our board policies and procedures that we can agree right here, right now, that we're going to raise $1,000 individually? Can we agree to that? You vote on that and make that something that is a staple of your nonprofit. Now, if they don't fundraise, they are out, and you have to be willing to say you're out at that point. Because if your board isn't fundraising and they aren't invested into your cause in that way, if they aren't out there trying to get sponsors or donors or ticket sales or people in the door for your event, then why are they there? Would it be a good idea to post an event coordinator volunteer position for fundraising events? You can definitely post an event coordinator position. Basically, I would call this person, I had an event coordinator or a day of event coordinator. So basically that would mean that this person would be in charge of the volunteers. They would be the person who's helping with the logistics. They're helping with setup breakdown, making sure that we have volunteers for setup breakdown. This could be a volunteer coordinator, or this can be an event coordinator. So yes, you can absolutely do that. And this one was a specialized question, particularly geared for not by my own community's nonprofit. And so they offer a current mentorship program at $15 a month at $15.99 monthly and $159.90 annually. We use these for fundraising purposes and ways to meet communities' needs. What is an acceptable increase for newcomers? It started out at $9.99 and $99 before I increased it to what it is. So the thing about mentorship programs and like charging for that type of thing, it really depends on what you are offering them. So I believe if my memory serves me correctly, you give them a book, you give them mentorship, you give them a community. And the more benefits you give them, the more you can charge. So what I will say is this: if you are offering monthly classes, if you are offering them something that's very robust, that if you were to put a dollar amount and it's exceeding $200, then feel free to increase it. However, this could be an opportunity for you to sell these as sponsorships for people. So let's just say, for example, it's $159. Instead of doing monthly fees, you can just charge $159, and then boom, now you don't have to, now you're not rattling $15 every month. But you could do a fundraiser online, or a campaign that basically gears towards this particular program that you're offering, where now people are donating $159 increments and sponsoring the heck out of mentors or mentees. And so that's a way that you can position it. I think the price for the program is fine, but now if you use that to promote it, if you use that to get people to say, this is, now if you put a sponsorship deck together and say, hey, for $159, you're going to sponsor this. For $250, you're going to sponsor this. For $350, you're going to sponsor this. Now you have several different sponsorship levels that are available that people can tap into and know that when I give $159, I'm sponsoring a survivor for one whole year to do X, Y, and Z. And so as you can see, there's like a shift in the language and the narrative on how you're promoting that particular program, because it can stay the same for people who can't afford it. And then now you're offering scholarship. So now you got, let's just say 20 people to donate $159. And now you can add on your website that you have a scholarship program for people to participate in this select program. All you have to do is fill out this application and tell us your financial need. And then boom, you have the opportunity to now use that same model, but in a different way to get more money in a bigger way. So I was also thinking of a biannual fundraising events like a virtual yoga and virtual walk and run. Yes, do that. I think that's great. And then creating those as a staple for your event. So if you have a yoga event that is your staple thing, that, I mean, in San Diego, there were thousands of things like that. But what was cool is that they were fundraising events and there were like hundreds of people that were doing yoga in public parks. So if you have a yoga event or like a healing event or like a prayer retreat or something, what makes it unique to your nonprofit, tap into that, use that, hone in on that, and make that your own. That way people know that your 5K is every October. They know that your yoga event is every March. And that way that's something for them to expect every year. And they know that they can come to these events every year as their, staple event for your nonprofit. So that is going to conclude our really long, very productive, what feels like a 10-hour session for fundraising. And if you have more questions, let me know.